It's Psychic Fix, helping you win with your mind. Psychic Fix brings you 22 dangers of sitting for too long. Please subscribe to be notified of new videos. A new study has shown that people who sit for longer periods of time have a higher risk of death. While this may make sense, what's surprising is that this higher risk of death is also true for people who exercise. So, sitting, it seems, may be substantially dangerous to your health, even if you exercise. The low sitting time group involved people who reported less than 2 hours of sitting time per day. In this study, sitting time meant sitting in front of a TV or computer, although risks were also found with driving in a car. The high sitting time group involved people who reported more than 4 hours of sitting time per day. The health risks associated with more sitting time included an almost 50% increase in risk of death from any cause, as well as a 125% increase in risk of cardiovascular symptoms like chest pain. Previous studies have linked long periods of sitting with higher risk of developing cancer, more abdominal obesity, high blood pressure, and high blood sugar. Even people who exercised moderately or vigorously are not immune to the dangers of sitting. Scientists say that exercise does not negate the negative health effects of sitting too long. Let's look at some of the negative effects of sitting for too long. 1. Anxiety. A study has found that sitting for too long may also harm people's mental health. Researchers collected data from 3,367 government employees. They each filled out a psychological assessment for 4 weeks. There was a significant relationship between mental health and sitting. Those who reported sitting for more than 6 hours a day were found to have more symptoms of anxiety than those who sat for less than 3 hours a day. Here is how running can help with anxiety. 2. Depression. Since sitting reduces circulation, it's harder for feel-good hormones to make their way to receptors. A study followed 9,000 middle-aged women and determined that those who sat longer and did not meet minimum exercise requirements suffered from depression at much higher rates compared with the women who sat less and exercised more. When it came to sitting, those who sat for more than 7 hours a day were 47% more likely to suffer from depression than those who sat 4 hours or fewer. 3. Weak muscles. Muscles are healthiest when they are being used and challenged on a regular basis. Keep them engaged. Muscles are pliable, but when locked in sitting position for the majority of the day, every day, they do get stiff. After years of constantly sitting, the body is used to sitting and not as proficient at running, jumping, or even standing. 4. Strained nerves. Being in a sitting position for too long causes your muscles to pull the nerves around them, which can cause pain. The nerves are pinched and you feel pain in your shoulders and lower back. Do you now understand why people who work desk jobs complain of back pain more often? 5. Diabetes. An increase of 22%. This huge numerical link between every extra 60 minutes people spend sitting and diabetes may come as a shock. A Dutch study indicates that people with type 2 diabetes spent close to half an hour more of their day on a couch or sitting at a computer than those without the illness. After the math was done, it turned out that just an extra hour is enough to increase your chance of developing the condition by 22%. Separate studies suggest that being inactive for more than 3 hours a day decreases people's life expectancy by 2 years. 6. Hip problems. Weakened muscles combined with poor circulation from keeping your legs still for a prolonged period of time lead to a number of leg and hip problems. Your gluteus muscles are some of the most important muscles in your legs. They are responsible for helping you keep balance. When you sit for a long time, your glutes are at rest and doing nothing but cushioning you. As these muscles lose their tone, you may experience trouble maintaining good balance. 7. Osteoporosis. This affects mostly older people. Physical activity as a way to prevent osteoporosis is based on evidence that it can regulate bone maintenance and stimulate bone formation, including the accumulation of mineral, in addition to strengthening muscles, improving balance, and thus reducing the overall risk of falls and fractures. 8. Increased risk of cancers. Sitting for long periods of time increases your risk for colon, endometrial, and, possibly, lung cancer by 66%. According to a study, which looked at more than 4 million individuals and 68,936 cancer cases. The research found that even in physically active individuals, sitting increased the risk, and the risk worsened with each 2-hour increase in sitting time. 9. Bad posture. When you sit for too long, it becomes difficult to maintain good posture. You will naturally begin to slouch and slump as you reposition yourself to keep comfortable. Before too long, this slouching at the desk will begin to affect your posture when you stand and walk. Poor posture doesn't only look unattractive, but it's painful and messes up the spine. 10. It hurts your heart. Scientists first noticed something was up in a study that compared two similar groups: transit drivers, who sit most of the day, and conductors or guards, who don't. Though their diets and lifestyles were a lot alike, those that sat were about twice as likely to get heart disease as those that stood. 11. Fat is stored. LPL, or lipoprotein lipase, is an enzyme that breaks down fat and uses it as energy. When the enzyme isn't working as it should, that fat is stored. In a study, mice were tested for LPL levels in 3 states: laying down for most of the day, standing for most of the day and exercising. LDL activity in the laying mice was very low, levels rose more than 10 times when the mice simply stood. The larger point is that people can't combat the effects of sitting with a half hour or hour of exercise alone. Standing throughout the day is the answer. 12. Obesity. In a study on weight gain and loss, where every aspect of diet and exercise was controlled in a lab, researchers added 1,000 calories to all of the subjects' daily diets. None of the people were permitted to exercise, but some people in the study were able to maintain their weight, while others gained weight. The researchers couldn't understand why some were able to avoid gaining weight without exercise. Those who maintained their weight did so by unintentionally moving more throughout the day. 13. Premature aging. Sitting too much has been linked to various health concerns, some of which include metabolic syndrome and high blood pressure. According to a doctor, the more hours you spend sitting in a day, the shorter your lifespan may be. One study found, for instance, that reducing the average time you spend sitting down to less than 3 hours a day could increase your life expectancy by 2 years. 14. Premature death. People who watched an average 6 hours of TV a day lived an average 4.8 years fewer than those who didn't watch any television, an Australian study found. Every hour of TV that participants watched after age 25 was associated with a 22-minute reduction in their life expectancy. 15. Overproductive pancreas. Cells in muscles that have not been moving don't respond well to insulin, according to a study. The result is the pancreas making more and more, which can lead to diabetes. Interrupting sitting time with short bouts of light or moderate intensity walking lowers glucose and insulin levels in overweight and obese adults. 16. Chronic fatigue. It is common knowledge that people who work out on a regular basis have more energy. In fact, cancer patients' symptoms improved when they began exercising more, a study shows. Other research suggests that light exercise reduced feelings of fatigue by as much as 65% and boosted energy levels by 20%. 17. Chronic pain. Weight gain combined with poor posture inevitably leads to issues with chronic pain. When you sit for too long, the muscles in your back and neck tense up, and before you know it, you'll be suffering from serious aches and pains throughout your shoulders, neck and back. 18. Deep vein thrombosis (DVT). Deep vein thrombosis is a health complication in which dangerous blood clots form in the large veins of your legs. Sometimes, pieces of these clots can break away from the clot itself and be pumped into the narrow blood vessels of the lungs. The risk of complications caused by deep vein thrombosis is highest in people who fly often, sit for prolonged periods of time, smoke and are pregnant. 19. Varicose veins. Sitting or standing for long periods of time can cause blood to pool in the leg veins, increasing the pressure within the veins, according to Johns Hopkins Medicine. As a result, the veins can stretch, which may weaken the walls of the veins and damage the valves. Symptoms of varicose veins include skin color changes, sores, a rash, and/or a burning sensation in the legs. 20. Weight gain. One of the more obvious and faster-hitting consequences of sitting too much is that it's really easy to gain weight. This doesn't only affect the way you look and feel, but if you gain enough weight to be classified as obese, you're putting yourself at risk for a number of serious health complications. 21. Dementia. Research has linked more sitting and less activity with an increased risk of developing dementia, according to Harvard Medical School. 22. Slower brain function. Studies have found that interrupting prolonged sitting with light-intensity walking breaks may be an effective fatigue countermeasure acutely. The brain is technically a muscle and needs to be exercised. Good blood flow to muscles, including the brain, makes the body and mind work better. However, the good news is there are steps you can take to mitigate risks of excess sitting time. How can you save your health from the dangers of sitting? If you're not getting enough activity in your day, it's not too late to turn it around and gain great health benefits in the process. Build more activity into your day. Some ways: walk or cycle, and leave the car at home. For longer trips, walk or cycle part of the way. Use the stairs instead of the lift or escalator, or at least walk up the escalator. Get off the bus one stop early and walk the rest of the way. Park further away from wherever you're going and walk the rest of the way. You may find you can reach your destination faster by walking than if you wait for public transport. Be active at work. Walk over and talk to your colleagues instead of emailing them. Take your lunch break away from your desk and enjoy a short walk outside if you can. Organize walking meetings. Be active indoors. Don't let bad weather stop you from being active. You can do body weight exercises such as squats, sit-ups, and lunges. You can also try indoor activities such as dancing, swimming at an indoor pool, yoga, Pilates, martial arts, squash, indoor rock climbing. Reduce your sedentary behavior. When you're tidying up, put items away in small trips rather than taking it all together. Set the timer on your television to turn off an hour earlier than usual to remind you to get up and move. Walk around when you're on the phone. Don't die sitting. It's Psychic Fix and we are committed to you. Subscribe to our channel for more videos.